Hello and welcome back. It is day 5 of Vlogmas. And today I set aside some extra time to do something special, something that I've always wanted to do and is very basic, but I've just never done it. And that is to build my own gingerbread house, which I didn't even pick this mug like on purpose. This is what has been my go-to mug this holiday season. But yeah, I have always wanted to make my own like gingerbread house from scratch. Like as a kid, we would make gingerbread houses from like graham crackers and just like random icing. And I remember it being a mess and like they just never came out the way you wanted them to. But obviously it was just fun. We would do it with friends. But as an adult, I have always had this dream of being one of those people who can create just like an absolutely beautiful gingerbread house from scratch, but I've never even made one from scratch before. Like I have never even tried. I think part of the reason why I've never tried is because I know that it's something that I would kind of set myself up for failure with. Like I would have way too high expectations. Like I would expect myself to build this incredible gingerbread house, first time from scratch, and it come out perfectly and all this stuff. And I think deep down, I know that that's just not realistic. That's not a realistic goal. But this year, I have really been thinking a lot more about skills that I want to develop and that I know are things that like you need to give time. Like they don't just like happen overnight. You have to like actually practice them. I have been thinking about sort of like projects that I want to revisit every single year and like slowly build skills on. And one of those is making gingerbread houses. So I thought, all right, this is the year. Let's actually make a gingerbread house from scratch this year, and maybe next year, I'll feel a little more confident. I'll make a slightly more complex one. We'll start really basic this year, like super duper basic. And so when I was trying to think of like, what's probably the most basic one to do, I was thinking about doing an A-frame because that's literally only 4 pieces. You got the front, the back, and then the A-frame roof. So I figured that would be probably like the easiest one to try to make. Like one just like this, super duper simple. And this one I found online also has like an actual like printable template for making it, which I feel like I don't necessarily need. Like they are that simple, but because I am really trying to like pull myself back, not jump to like too many steps ahead, like really just try to learn the basics here, I think I'm just gonna go with it. I'm gonna print out the template. We're gonna learn it and have some fun. So I actually specifically booked off like this afternoon to do that. I feel like a lot of times too, my other problem with like not setting myself up for success is that I don't really give myself enough time. And it's hard, especially during the holidays, to slow down. There's always a million things that you could be doing. There's, I have plenty of things on my to-do list that I could be doing instead of making a gingerbread house. But I really just want to focus more on doing these things that I've always wanted to do. So anyway, we're gonna print out this template and then we're gonna get to baking. Okay, so here are my pieces. I got them cut out. I had just barely enough space to cut out this guy without having to re-roll everything because I was hoping to do it all just in one pass, so it's all, you know, a similar, like, roll depth, you know what I mean. But yeah, I think we are ready to stick it in the oven. I have some bad news. They've just become like one big blob. And they definitely have spread. So the recipes, I was looking at both recipes, both of those two recipes, and neither of them listed like refrigerating the dough. It was all just like going straight into the oven. And so, you know, usually when you make cutout cookies, usually refrigerating the dough is a big deal. But obviously with this, like, you have big pieces. I don't know what I did wrong. So I guess we're going to spend a little time and look at some other recipes and see if I can maybe find a better recipe. I don't know. Maybe I'll try to pull it out and like score them while it's still hot, but I think they just spread too much anyway. Like, I think even if I score them and even if they will still break into pieces, which, by the way, like the one recipe I was following, she was saying that like she doesn't even like pull off the excess. Like, she was saying that she just, you know, scored everything, left it on the pan, and then once it like cooled, would break them into pieces. But like, this did not hold its shape well enough to be able to do that. So I'll maybe like pull them out, score it just to see if I can salvage it at all, but I don't have a lot of hope at this point. Okay, so I was trying to move really quickly so I didn't get a video, but I pulled it out of the oven and just like immediately started just to kind of trim off pieces using this guy. And I trimmed off all of the edges and I tried to even them out. I still will maybe clean it up a little bit more. I think I might have salvaged it. This still doesn't like, it just didn't turn out like what I imagined or like what I've seen pictures of. I don't know. It just still doesn't look quite right, but it does smell amazing. And I just want to see, we'll keep going with this and we'll see if we can use it. Okay, so it's been a little bit. Now, I waited a little bit while it was letting it cool off, you know, because I know that's really important. But while it was still a little bit pliable, but cool enough to kind of handle, I did pick up the pieces. Sorry, Dutch is tip-tapping around. I picked up the pieces and just like held them up together to make sure that they would fit together, and they were pretty far off from fitting together. But that's the benefit of going with a really simple construction, is like, I could tell what needed to be trimmed. So I ended up trimming off quite a bit of the triangles in order to make them fit with the rectangles. While I was waiting for these to cool, I did do some digging online and I found a recipe that I'm a lot more confident in. It's on New York Times, which I feel like I rarely have any trouble with New York Times recipes. So I would like to give that a try, because I feel like this is just, you know, not, as far as like what I really want to create, it's like pretty far off looks wise. However, I still think that there's like something to be, I can use this, you know, I feel like we can still use this as a practice run. So I feel like today we can still make some icing and do some decorating and just use this as 1000% just a practice run. This recipe that I found from New York Times it's supposed to be chilled overnight, which makes me a little bit more like confident in it, honestly, just like as somebody who's baked quite a bit of cookies. But I am going to still, like, I feel like we can still decorate this, and then in our next vlog we can revisit. That's not what I plan to do, but you know, hey, this is real life. I feel like this is the downside, but also the benefit of vlogging, is that like you see in real time that like sometimes stuff just doesn't work out the way you're hoping it will. Anyway, so yeah, let's get to making some icing. Okay, we've got our icing. Thankfully, that recipe had a great video to make sure it came out looking right. So I'm pretty confident that we've got the right consistency. And then I saw somebody online who was talking about, of the various articles I have now read about gingerbread house making, they recommended for like building the base out to use a squeezy bottle, which I thankfully already had on hand. So I'm gonna fill this bad boy up. I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but got a little funnel here. Oh, this is not a good idea. You know how sometimes you start to do something and you're just like, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea. Yeah. Funnel's not doing anything. Obviously. Hello, why would a funnel work for... We're moving on. We're just going to use a knife. There we go. We're just gonna do this move. And inevitably we are going to make a mess, but just work in small batches. All right, I think we've got, I think that's enough. We can always add more, but we're gonna get started on that. Yeah, it's nice because they actually have a pretty decently thin tip, so it should be work out pretty well. Okay. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I really want to like learn the techniques and learn all of the things about making a gingerbread house. I want it to be something that I enjoy, but obviously you're not necessarily going to always enjoy something when you're first learning like the basics, and that's okay. But I feel like I don't know if I'm learning what I want to learn right now. And I feel like I'm also just not having fun. If I'm being honest, I'm not having fun. I'm not loving how things are coming out. I'm feeling like I need to spend more time watching some videos, because I actually read quite a bit even before the actual recipe fiasco. I had read quite a few blog posts of people talking about making gingerbread houses, all that stuff. You know, I felt confident, but then, you know, like I learned more. But I feel like I need to dig into YouTube and watch a lot more like good instructional videos on making gingerbread houses. I feel like I'm like missing something. Like I don't feel like it's clicking right now. I don't think the icing's bad. I think it's holding it together. It's working. But I just feel like the technique, I think I'm such a visual learner. I think I just need to spend more time watching very, very good people. I've watched gingerbread making like videos before, but usually they're a little bit more aesthetic and not quite as much about the nitty gritty. So I think I need to dig more into that. So I have decided we're gonna call it quits. But we're gonna revisit this. This is gonna be another Vlogmas video. We're gonna make gingerbread houses again. We're gonna make it. We're gonna do it next time. I did get half of the roof done and it doesn't look terrible, but I also, like, as I was setting it up, I remembered that like I had read about how, like, you know, it's best to do most of your decorating on the cookies before you actually put the house together. And then you put the whole house together, and I knew that, and I just completely forgot about it. So like the way I put in the like the front and the back door, it'd be very hard to decorate from here. Let's end on a good note. So I knew, since I was gonna be making this today and it might be a little bit more intensive, that, you know, I probably wouldn't feel like cooking tonight for dinner. And so this morning I put in my crock pot my very favorite chicken stew, and it's so stinking good and it smells so good right now that I am so excited to have that. So that's what we're gonna do, but we will be back and we will make gingerbread houses again. But I hope that you are having a lovely day. I will be back tomorrow in shorts with a mini vlog, and then I'll be back the day after that with another full vlog, and maybe we'll be making gingerbread houses, maybe not, I don't know.